You know, when Nintendo announced that they'd be upgrading Switch games for the Switch 2, most of the initial lineup made sense to me. The two Zeldas have an extremely big open world that could show off the power of the new system very well, Mario Party could introduce new minigames using the gimmicks of the new system, and Pokemon and Metroid were two games not out yet that just make sense to also get upgrades. But among them, there was one game that just struck me as odd, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Why was this getting an upgrade? Don't get me wrong, it's a great game, but it's not the most visually impressive or demanding game ever made or something, and I can think of plenty other games that would probably benefit more from an upgrade. But then I remembered, oh yeah, this is the best-selling Kirby game of all time, by a considerable margin too. That's probably why. Well, whatever the reason, the game got the upgrade, and included with it was a new story expansion called the Star-Crossed World. And I don't know how familiar you are with Kirby games, but the developers just love putting little secrets in their games. They actually have a very extensive history of doing that. And this expansion is of course no different. So today I'm gonna share a bunch of fun facts I discovered, as well as a couple submitted by you guys on Twitter. Let's start with something kinda random that the Switch 2 edition added. In the main hub of the game, there's a cafe called Waddle Dee Cafe, where you can buy a bunch of items that heal your HP. And this place is actually loosely based on the real-life Kirby Café from Japan, that's existed before the Forgotten Land originally released. You can order a car mouth cake here that's shaped like Kirby after it inhales a car to use its mouthful mode ability. And shortly after this game released, the Kirby Café from real life added that same cake from the game to their actual menu. Now this of course isn't new to the Switch 2 edition, but something that is new is that now if you order the car mouth cake, there's a small chance of it having some blue crystals on top of it to reference the Star-Crossed World expansion, which is of course all about these blue crystals. And interestingly, they also made this an item in the real Kirby Café for a limited time, alongside a blue starry drink, which I think looks really cool. So that's how an in-game item influenced the creation of a real-life item, but the inverse also happened. Like I said, the Kirby Café existed before the Forgotten Land released, and one of the original menu items was this burger with a pink bun and Kirby's face burned into it. Well, as you probably figured out by now, this burger is also available at the in-game Waddle Dee Cafe, of course being based on its real-life variant. And Safi the Gamer let me know that new to the Switch 2 edition is that whenever you order it, there's now a chance for Kirby's face to instead have an open mouth smile with some starry specks in his eyes, which is based on his expression in the opening scene of Kirby's Dream Buffet, an anniversary game that released after the Forgotten Land, though as far as I can tell this version isn't available in the real-life Kirby Café. It's pretty unfortunate that the Kirby Café is exclusive to Japan. I'd love to go there someday. And hey, speaking of Japanese exclusive stuff, I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Zen Market. Dang, I'm on a roll with my sponsor segues lately. Anyway, so if you've ever tried ordering something online from a Japanese exclusive store, you've no doubt experienced how annoying or flat out impossible it can be. But that's where Zen Market comes in. They're a shopping service that lets you browse and buy stuff from over 10,000 Japanese-only stores, and then they'll of course actually ship it to you as well. To simplify the process a bit, basically using their site, you tell them what you want, from what store, and then you pay them the needed money. They will then buy said product using the money you sent them, and store it in their warehouse in Osaka, Japan for up to 60 days. During that time, they'll weigh the product and calculate what the shipping cost to your address would be, which you then pay for, and then they'll of course ship it to you. Simple as that. From personal experience, back when I really wanted the Xenoblade 1 Remake's Japanese Collector's Edition, I can confirm that this indeed works. And with Zen Market, you can get 1000 free Zen points, equivalent of 1000 yen, if you use my special promo code PJiggles, or just use my link in the description. Thanks again to Zen Market for supporting the channel today, and now, let's get into some useless Kirby facts. So let's start with the fact that a lot of people submitted to me actually. If you buy the Switch 2 edition upgrade and then start a save file that's finished the first world of the game, a cutscene will play of Kirby and Elfilin traveling on a warp star, and then a starry meteor crashes into the sea, causing an island with a volcano to rise up from the ocean, which sets up the new DLC content. After beating the fourth world of the game, a cutscene will play where King Dedede captures Elfilin and flies away, making it so you have to go rescue him. So what would happen if you bought the Switch 2 edition during this part of the story? After all, Elfilin is present in that one cutscene that starts the new content, and you could theoretically start it at any time. Well, the devs actually thought of this. If you start a save file under these very specific conditions, you'll get a different version of the cutscene that's basically the same, with the only exception being that Elfilin just isn't present. However, for some reason, they actually made a second version of the song that accompanies this scene as well. It's very slightly different, but it's most easily noticeable near the start. Take a listen. As you can hear, the flutes are missing in the alternate version. I have no idea why they did this. It's not like Elfilin is tied to flutes in the story or something, but whatever, I guess. It's just a really random change. This alternate version of the song does have a separate entry in the sound test, by the way, called the Kirby Alone version, in case you were wondering what that was supposed to be. Anyways, after this opening scene, you get another cutscene at the volcano that appeared, where Kirby inspects the meteor and meets a character named Astronomer Waddle Dee that gives you some exposition on what's going on. This scene too has a version with and without Elfilin. If he's present, he'll say that he's scared near the start, and then after Kirby finds and helps some star-shaped being, Elfilin will pop in and say that a mysterious voice just spoke in his head, saying that those things are called Starries. If Elfilin isn't present for this scene, him saying he's scared is just straight up skipped, and you instead find out about Starries because Astronomer Waddle Dee just remembers it instead from some text he's read. Very convenient. There's no difference in the music this time, by the way. And lastly, you can actually view the versions without Elfilin of these scenes whenever you want by holding down the Y button when selecting them in the theater in the hub, so that's nice. Speaking of Elfilin, Ontarian let me know that if you talk to him 10 times in Kirby's house, which is actually 9 times, he'll give you some unique dialogue that gives a bit more insight of the lore of the world. And after doing some research online, I found that apparently this only happens after you 100% clear the new content added in the DLC. It's a lot of text actually, so I won't read it out loud, but if you want to know what it is, here you go, you can pause and read it if you want. And it does kinda hint towards Elfilin maybe coming back in a future game, so that's interesting at least. Here's something really fun from the original game that made the rounds back when it released. If you fight in the Coliseum's Meta Knight Cup, you'll of course face off against Meta Knight at the end, and he gives you a sword at the start so you can have a fair sword duel, which is pretty much just a tradition at this point. If you choose to take the sword, he'll fly down into the arena and have a clash with Kirby before the fight starts. But if you don't take the sword and instead just sit there for a bit, it'll eventually despawn, and then the scene will have Meta Knight try to fly into Kirby, which he then dodges. That's not what I wanted to talk about though. During the fight, he has an attack where he dashes into you, and if you also have a sword, you can challenge this with a quick button mashing QTA, which will make Meta Knight drop his sword if you win, leaving a window open for you to attack, before he picks his sword back up and then the fight continues. But here's the fun part, you can actually steal his sword during this moment instead, which will give you the Meta Knight sword ability a little bit before you're normally supposed to unlock it. Pretty neat. That's a little too useful for this video though, so here's the actual good part. When this happens, Meta Knight comes back with a different sword, which might look a little generic at first, but upon closer inspection, it's actually the same as the one from his original artwork. And I mean, like, his original artwork from Kirby's Adventure, his very first appearance ever. That's a pretty deep cut reference. Unfortunately, if you try to do the same thing with this sword, it'll just despawn instead, and he then comes back with the exact same sword again. I guess he just has an infinite supply of them behind the Coliseum or something. And speaking of the Coliseum, if you beat the new one from the DLC, the interviewer will call you Kirby of the Stars, which is a reference to what the Kirby series is called in Japan, namely Hoshino Kirby, which of course translates to Kirby of the Stars. And I personally really like that as a title for him actually. I hope they use it in more games going forward. Next, I want to talk about one of Kirby's longest running traditions, which is actually one of the longest running Nintendo traditions in general, originating from 1993's Kirby's Adventure and still going strong today, the HAL Rooms. These are rooms that spell out the word HAL, in reference to HAL Laboratory, the typical developer of the Kirby series, and they usually require you to do something very cryptic and specific to show up. For example, the first ever HAL Room has you just barely despawn the Warp Star in the second level by using the edge of the screen. Like, come on, who's gonna find that? Anyways, there are of course also some HAL Rooms in the Forgotten Land, with a new one being added in the DLC. Though let's go over the original ones first. The first HAL Room is in the stage Rocky Rolling Road from World 1, and to get to it you have to go all the way to the end of the stage and get on top of this tree, then using a Ranger ability, shoot this really far off floating target in the background, which will make a staircase of blocks appear behind the goal that leads up to the roof of the building in the background, and that'll eventually take you to the HAL Room behind it, looking pretty standard. The second HAL Room is in World 3's The Wondaria Dream Parade, in this little hub area where you have to do a lap around a course as car mode Kirby. But instead of actually doing the race, you have to wait a while and pass the finish line when the timer is at 86 seconds, which will make a platform rise up with the letters HAL spelled out with bushes and collectibles. If you're wondering what the significance of 86 is, it's a reference to a type of number-based wordplay in Japan called Goro Owase, wherein 8 and 6 can be pronounced Ha and Ru, or Haru, which sounds like HAL, as in HAL Laboratory. You get it. They actually hide this number occasionally in the Kirby games as well, such as in this game where in the story, Specimen IDF-86 also plays a big role, though don't worry, I won't say why because of spoilers. Anyways, the third and last HAL room in the base game is in World 6's burning churning power plant, where you have to make your way over to a hidden control room, which can be accessed via this secret passageway. Then once you've reached that control room, you have to leave and backtrack to the start of the stage. The giant crushers move a lot faster than before, so you might want to use the fire ability which the stage actually gives you to dodge them. And then once you're back at the entrance, there will now be a path of star coins leading up to a ladder that wasn't there before. If you take this path, you'll eventually reach a room with a bunch of stacked boxes, and if you destroy them, they'll each reveal a letter, which of course spells out HAL. So those are all the original 3 HAL rooms in the game, but like I said, the Star-Crossed World expansion adds a 4th one. In World 5's The Waste That Counts Time stage, you have to take this Spring Mouth ability, then destroy this crystal with a green star coin in it behind the area's exit, and then instead of taking the Warp Star, you gotta backtrack all the way back to the start of this giant open area and use the Spring Mouth ability at the level's entrance to reach this high up platform. This will take you to a room where you gotta hit a couple of star switches with the Spring Mouth ability, which will make giant letters appear, of course spelling out HAL once you're done. By the way, in this same stage during the Sign Mouth segment, there are some metal boxes laid out that vaguely resemble the word HAL, probably hinting towards the fact that this stage has the actual HAL room, which was also told to me by Safi the Gamer, so thanks fam. Anyways, you never have to find any of these HAL rooms for 100% completion, but they do have original songs that only appear in the sound test if you've heard them. The first 2 HAL rooms have the same song, so you only need to find one of them, and then the last 2 to complete the song list. And hey, speaking of the sound test, here's a really cool secret about it that's also consistent across multiple Kirby games. Whenever you play a song, music notes come out of the speakers, and they actually change color per song, with each color corresponding to what composer made said song. Songs with yellow notes were made by Yuta Ogasawara, blue songs were made by Hirokazu Ando, green songs by Yuki Shimuka, red songs by Jun Ishikawa, purple songs by Yuki Kato, orange songs by Megumi Ohara, magenta songs by Shogo Sakai, and lastly indigo songs are by Tadashi Ikegami. Very cool secret. Jun Ishikawa's songs originally had magenta notes before the Switch 2 edition, but they were changed to red, because now Shogo Sakai, who wasn't in the original release, has magenta instead. I guess he really wanted that color, and I don't blame him honestly. And speaking of music, I want to end on what I think is one of the coolest facts ever. This game has a song called Welcome to the New World, which has actual lyrics in a fictional language. And for a while, the singer of these lyrics wasn't confirmed, instead only being credited as NEICHEL in the game's credits, which is a fake name. Later, when the sound selection and complete soundtrack released in Japan, the included booklets confirmed that NEICHEL was actually the Japanese music artist known as Sammy. So why wasn't this confirmed in the actual game? Well, it's a little strange, but since Kirby hears this song on an actual radio, it's implied that this is a diegetic song, aka a song that actually exists in the game's world and story, like Kirby is actually hearing it in universe. This would imply that NEICHEL, the singer of the song, is an actual character in the story that we just never got to see, which is already kind of interesting, but also just a lore detail, so why am I mentioning it in this video when I normally don't talk about lore? Well, that's because we actually did get to see NEICHEL, but not what you think. Instead of her appearing in the game like you'd expect, she instead made an appearance in real life at the Kirby 30th Anniversary Musical Festival in Japan back in August of 2022, over 3 years ago now. Near the end of the show, they played Welcome to the New World, during which she walked on stage in a very pretty green dress and hat to sing the lyrics to the song, and she was of course portrayed by Sammy here, the actual singer of the song. And now for the part that actually makes this so interesting to me. 3 years later, when Star-Crossed World released, while she didn't physically appear, there's a billboard in the Fallen Star Beach stage of the new campaign that depicts her green hat. The same green hat as the one Sammy wore during that music festival. The text on the billboard is in a fictional language, which can be deciphered to say NEICHEL Twinkling Star Showers, the name of her new song in the DLC that plays during the DLC's credits, in which she is also credited as just NEICHEL. Since there are a lot of hints in the game pointing towards the titular Forgotten Land actually taking place on Earth or a version of it, considering there are real cars and buildings and there's in-universe human speech, it's very likely that humans used to exist in this world, which means how we saw NEICHEL during that music festival is probably what she actually looked like. Maybe it was even supposed to be the real NEICHEL, if you will. There are a couple more lore things related to her that I won't delve into here. I just wanted to mention her existence since she's basically just a completely hidden character that we have seen in real life. I just think that's really cool. The 100% completion reward for the entire game is even a new song by her in the sound test that she never finished, called Last Song Incomplete, NEICHEL's Unfinished Track, which is an insane banger, by the way. This might actually be my favorite song from the entire series, which is saying a lot. I recommend you go listen to it. I'm also planning on using it for something really special on my channel, but it's gonna be a while until that happens, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, that's gonna do it for today. Big shoutouts to new member Epic Mario, who joined just in time to still be in this video, CPJ, Giant Firing Cole, Quote is Cool, The Flying Fire, LurFX1, Luca Bazooka 2004, Roy BGB, welcome back, Sheen for the win, Sil700, Goomba Odyssey, Exobear, Pixel Boy, Lime the Chef, Daniel, and the rest of my Starry Patreon supporters. Thanks for the continued support. I feel like this was a pretty unusual useless facts video, so I hope you guys still liked it. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and please have yourself a great rest of your day. Bye bye.